Welcome back to Umpire Magazine, The Hot Take. I'm Alex, and I want to open this week by reading a headline that Jamie apparently sent into the universe last episode. Quote, "I am a market force." That was you, Jamie. You misidentified a studio and called yourself a market force. I've been thinking about that all week, and I still haven't recovered.
And I'm Jamie, and I stand by every syllable. Pitch Black named me personally in a shareholder document, and the stock went up 3.7%. But welcome back, everybody, because Follywood has somehow, against all known laws of physics and taste, gotten worse. And I need to talk about it before my head explodes.
So last week, I said the critical bar had been formally decommissioned and sold for scrap. I need to update that again. The bar has now been melted down, reforged into a participation trophy, and awarded to every film currently playing in Follywood. Not a single movie in cinemas cracked above a 5 out of 10. The magazine literally says the entire multiplex is a sea of shoulder shrugs and polite winces. That's not criticism. That's a medical diagnosis.
Okay, but can we appreciate that Fearscape Ghost I topped the weekly chart at 21.8 million? Last week, I got roasted. Roasted, Alex, for misidentifying it as a Shire film when it was Pitch Black's baby. And now it's the #1 earner of the week. The horror film the critics shrugged at is dominating through pure atmosphere and word of mouth. And honestly, that's more punk than pirating your own films.
It's a 5 out of 10, Jamie. The #1 film in Follywood has the same score as a below-average sandwich. The magazine literally compared it to a sandwich. We have reached a point where topping the box office and being compared to disappointing bread are not mutually exclusive.
But let's talk about the real story, because The Tale of a Hero pulled another 18.3 million at 3 out of 10, and the total is now past $53 million. Last week, you called it what happens when the animation is pretty and there's nothing else to watch, and apparently 53 million people agree there is nothing else to watch. The magazine calls it the critical commercial paradox of the season, universally panned, universally attended. And I think that's kind of beautiful in a deeply broken way.
It's not beautiful, Jamie. It's a hostage situation. Audiences are walking into cinemas looking at a wall of threes and picking the one with the shiniest poster. Meanwhile, God is a She Volume 2 is still sitting at 73.9 million total, which makes it the biggest cumulative earner on the board, and its weekly take was only 8 million. You know what that means? It's coasting. A 5 out of 10 is coasting to historic numbers because everything around it is somehow worse.
The accountants are still whispering historic, and I am still here for the accountants. But okay, we need to talk about the press releases because Pitch Black has been on an absolute tear this week. First, he issued a formal response to the Rogue Cloud story. You know, the one where he halted the entire God is a she outdoor shoot because the sky looked aggressively off-brand, and shares went up 4.9%. He spent 3 hours debating whether the word regarding was too aggressive, and investors rewarded him for it.
The internal memo said, "Nobody panic. The clouds have been warned." That's not a press release. That's a weather threat. And then he followed it up by announcing, Pitch Black Pictures will not be releasing any film on June 19th because they're investing more into another project to innovate the film industry with better content for our fans. Traders initially gave him a 4.9% bump for doing literally nothing and then knocked the shares back 1.8 when they presumably finished reading the sentence.
The magazine calls it the innovation tax. And honestly, last week this man told people to pirate his films and the stock went up. And this week he says he's releasing nothing and the stock went up again before correcting. Pitch Black has figured out that in Follywood, the less you do, the more the market loves you. He's running an empire on vibes, rubber ducks, and strategic absence.
And then there's MCVW at Mike's Movies, who somehow turned the font saga into a 2-part stock rally. First statement about the Comic Sans memo, shares up 2.2%. Second statement about storming out of a notes meeting over incorrect fonts. Shares up another 3.6. The magazine is calling it the typography bull run. Last week we had the spite bump. Now we have a font-based financial instrument. Follywood has invented calligraphy derivatives.
And Pitch Black sent Mech VW a fruit basket that said glad someone else is in the headlines. And Mech VW had the card reprinted in Times New Roman before displaying it in the lobby. Last week, Pitch Black weaponized fruit against Danantino, and now he's doing it to Mech VW. I said Follywood runs on citrus and contempt, and I was more right than I knew. This man has a fruit budget line item.
All right, we need to talk about the Follywood League, because the inaugural season has reached what the magazine generously calls a dramatic midpoint, and what I would call a statistical flatline. Anubis FC and Pitch drew 7-7 in Week 1. Both teams are locked on 1 point each with identical goal differences of 0. It is the most perfectly meaningless result in competitive history.
It is not meaningless, Alex. It's the first ever Follywood League fixture, and both teams came out swinging. Anubis FC fielded downstairs reality against Pitch's Fearscape Ghost in I. And even with Anubis getting a 20% home boost on profit loss, they couldn't break the deadlock. That's a genuine tactical battle. Mobile Mr. T was calculating per goal ROI on a napkin on the touchline.
Per goal ROI on a napkin. That's not tactics, Jamie. That's a man doing homework during the match. And Pitch Black was pacing the car park muttering about rogue referees. The same man who blames clouds for ruining his film shoot is now blaming referees for a 7-7 draw. Both managers have requested a VAR review of goals 3 through 7, and the league office will consider it, quote, never.
But Week 2 is the decider. One result crowns the first ever Follywood League champion. The magazine asks if Pitch Black's rubber duck energy can translate into league glory. And honestly, with the way this season has gone, I wouldn't bet against the Ducks. The fan forums are already in chaos. Someone posted the Clouds cost us that match, and it got 47 upvotes.
47 people blamed weather for a football result in a film industry league. That's the most Follywood sentence ever constructed. And both teams have mutual grievance lists longer than a streaming terms of service document. This league is 1 week old, and it already has more drama than any film currently in cinemas, which admittedly is a very low bar given that everything is rated 3.
Okay, but speaking of threes, can we please address the absolute carnage coming next week? 6 new releases on June 19th. 6! And the critics have already savaged every single one. Scream, 3 out of 10. Scream 2, 3 out of 10. Someone greenlit both on the same day. Alex. The magazine says someone has taken their love of sequels too far, and specifically, it's the person who greenlit both on the same day.
The critics called Scream a limp bargain bin attempt at slasher revival, and Scream 2 a film that stumbles into theaters like a masked killer tripping over their own cape. These are separate films released simultaneously with identical scores. It's like watching someone fall down the stairs, rewind the tape, and fall down them again on purpose.
And then there's Carnal Zombie Armageddon. Tagline, they come in pieces, which is precisely the film you think it is. The critics say the pitch meeting lasted longer than the screenplay revision process, and I believe them because I don't think there was a screenplay revision process. But the one that breaks me is small. The reverse big comedy at 4 out of 10, because a 4 is genuinely the highest rated new release of the week. A 4, that's the summit. That's Everest.
Last week I said 4 new releases, all rated 3, and you said it terrified you. This week it's 6 releases with 5 3s and a 4. The magazine says 3 out of 10 isn't a score anymore, it's a postcode, and I think that might be the most accurate thing Umpire has ever published. We're not reviewing films, we're sorting mail.
But okay, here's where I need to be sincere for a moment, and you're going to hate this. The magazine gave a genuine warm paragraph to Jerry Goldsmith, the documentary, which has quietly amassed $44.6 million total. A documentary in a sea of threes. That's persistence as its own form of excellence, and I think that's genuinely lovely.
You're backing the team whose owner measures clouds and sends fruit baskets to his rivals. But honestly, after this week, in a league where both managers requested VAR reviews the league will never grant, in a Follywood where every new film is a 3, in an industry where a pretzel bowl is a hex-level crisis, rubber ducks are as rational a strategy as anything else.
That's practically an endorsement. All right, everybody, that is our show for this week. Follywood is mediocre, the charts are haunted, the pretzels are cursed, and next week 6 new films arrive and none of them are good. Come back and suffer with us.
Read Umpire Magazine for the full breakdown. Follow the Follywood League before it inevitably descends.